Nashville, raising Nashville, raising Nashville, raising Nashville.
Welcome to Raising Nashville, an all-new podcast here in Nashville, Tennessee, featuring three dads who are currently raising children in this crazy place we call home. And each week what we do is we're going to cover a variety of subjects that kind of play back to the name of the podcast, Raising Nashville. So we'll, one week we'll either have a subject about raising children in this city, and one week we might have a subject about Nashville and what's going on in the city currently, and then every once in a while we'll switch it up and we'll do a kind of a wild card pop culture. Sorry, the guy that you hear on the other microphone here is
Oldboy. I don't want to use my real name. I decided.
Fair enough.
In case I say something like completely just ornery, that's just like, oh God, this guy has a kid. And I also, in case my kid grows up and doesn't want to be associated with this podcast.
Or for future employment.
There you go.
Yeah, so nobody can Google you.
That's right. So I'll just be Oldboy, and then that way I fly under the radar and nobody, what if we get a bunch of a Twitter account and then people are like bashing me because I was like, yeah, man, I spanked my kid or something.
God. So when we started this podcast, we had an idea to come up with aliases, and the worst one by far that came out to me was Oldboy, because it makes absolutely no sense.
All right. I think I'm losing it.
So anyway, I'll just go ahead and say I'm Bucky, and welcome to Raising Nashville. We also have Juicebox in the house, and I'm not referring to you as
Oldboy.
No,
it's all right.
God, that's the worst name ever.
If I can get my daughter to start calling me Oldboy, I can get you to start calling me
Boy is in the title.
Yeah, I'm an old boy. Don't you get it?
So you haven't become a man yet.
So is that like the equivalent of man-child?
Absolutely.
Okay.
That's it. Yeah. It's
so
a
maybe
Scottish version of man-child.
Bucky, you should just go by man-child then.
I'll consider it. I don't think I'm going to go by man-child.
I'm changing it in my phone right now.
Didn't you have names for me when we were doing this too?
I got names for you for every day of the week.
Yeah. Great. We're talking about referring to being a father. So I'll let you introduce me every week as a new name, but right now I'll go with Bucky.
All right, Bucky it is.
So Bucky, Juicebox, and
old boy.
Young man. I like that. But anyway, again, welcome to Raising Nashville. This is the first time that we're doing this. We are three guys here in Nashville, Tennessee. We used to have a podcast that we really enjoyed, and we thought now that we've gone down the road a little bit in our lives, things have changed. Yeah. We're not belly up at Red Door East anymore every night, and we have a little bit more time on our hands. It's just different time, and we're spending it in different places. We thought we'd get this podcast together and start talking to you about things that are going on in our lives. Yeah. And so, again, every week we'll be doing something different. 1 week about, parenting, 1 week about the city of Nashville, and then occasionally we'll throw in wild cards there. Just subjects we want to talk about. And the first week, this, kind of inaugural episode, we decided to go with
spanking. Since we're parents, and I wanted to broach the subject of spanking. So I'm calling this segment "Spare the Rod, Spoil the Child." And we want to talk about what society says is right and wrong, and what psychology says right and wrong about spanking.
Sure.
And get everybody's opinion, because so there's a strong movement out there, and backed by a lot of study and data that says that spanking is
beneficial to discipline, to their future.
Not beneficial. Has a lot of negative connotations and long-term effects, and it's bad. Basically, is what people are saying. So, a 2016 analysis.
But hold on, let me stop you right there. Let's go ahead and get this out there.
Okay.
Were you two spanked as children?
100%.
Yep.
And I was as well. So I'm excited to find out about these long-term effects and see if any of us have them currently.
Right. Yeah. So basically, when it kind of gets down to it, is that it can have these negative long-term effects. It precipitates violent behavior, which is intuitive since children often mimic what they see, and parents are nothing if not role models for better or worse. So if you're constantly spanking your kid's probably going to be more apt to
Spank their spouse in bed.
God, you're making this so difficult.
Yeah,
probably
we went there.
Become violent, right? They'll probably exhibit more violent behavior because they view it as
Because it's been normalized, like this is just part of life.
right. Yeah,
Beating somebody.
right.
Are you violent?
No,
Are you violent?
I don't think so.
I don't think I am either.
no.
So there's theory one out the window already.
Wow.
We're about 3 minutes into the
Right.
podcast.
All right, yeah, Dr. B.F. Skinner.
Dr. Bucky.
Great episode, you guys.
All right. So, you know, so it's viewed as physical abuse. And this is backed by like pediatricians, multiple studies. This is not just a couple of people coming out and being against it, because it kind of goes against our nature. Like we were all spanked. I imagine my parents were spanked. I imagine their parents were spanked. We've been spanking forever, right? And what they're saying is that it's just a chain reaction, and that you should deal with a troublemaking child differently, because spanking, all it does is make them more defiant and more apt to act out and have negative emotions and so on and so forth.
I'm on the opposite end of that. I look at spanking as action reaction.
Exactly.
For every action, this is going to be the reaction. So if this is going to be the reaction, I don't want to do that action multiple times. Maybe every once in a while, but not consistently to where I'm constantly getting spanked.
Right. Well, what these studies say is that it doesn't curb the child's bad decision making or trouble making. What it does is it teaches them not to get caught, and that the spanking.
That is a very good point.
You're not curing the problem. What you're doing is you're dealing with your own issue. You're getting immediate satisfaction is what you're doing.
So
Short term answers.
That is very true, because I can even remember being back as a kid and doing some stuff that you just know, you're like, well, if I get caught, I'm getting a spanking. Like, there's no doubt about it. Like, that's what's happening. So it's not that I'm not going to do this because, playing with this fire or whatever is badass, but like,
Yeah.
or
just gotta
hitting a
not get
girl
caught.
with a baseball bat.
Or
whoa.
I got spanked one time for that. It was an accident, I swear. But the cops got involved and they showed up to our condo.
Holy
Yes, I was 9.
let's go back to
First
you-
time the cops have been called on me was I was
First
9
time.
years old.
Let's go back to that. You're not violent comment you had earlier. As you were saying.
So you're talking about physical abuse versus psychological abuse in disciplinary action of children? Is that, so if you're physical and you're spanking kids, they're going to find ways to not get caught. But if you get in their head...
Right. Yeah. Well, you got to talk it out with them, and timeout works
But
well.
they're not on my level of talking. I cannot talk it out with somebody who can't reason with me.
Right. So you have to come down to their level. That's it, man. You actually physically have to come down to their level. You need to get on a knee, look them right in the face, and be like, "Hey, baby, this is what you've done wrong. This is how it's here's what you did. Here's your consequences. I told you about this. You have to reason with them on their level, not on your level. Of course, they're not going to. Well, your kids probably are already there. But they've probably exceeded your level. But
in my opinion, you also have to project a level of fear. There needs to be a level of fear between you and your children.
Is that the relationship you want with your kid? Is for them to fear you?
That is the relationship that has been going on between parents and children since the beginning of time. Fear is the one thing we have on our children.
Fear is certainly a motivator. It works it works in certain situations. But is that the relationship you want with your child? Is for them to fear you and do what you say, and do things behind your back to not get caught?
Because on the opposite end of that, you have the fear, but it makes the good times so much better.
Oh, does it?
Yeah.
How do they know? They're probably scared to death.
When you're enjoying ice cream and talking about,
Right. They're like, God, I better not spill this fucking ice cream and
exactly
get my ass whooped.
Yes. So there's a balance there.
There's not a balance. It's very one-sided. You're a dictator.
Not a dictator.
Mussolini. That's your new fucking nickname for Mondays.
I know, it's like policing your household.
Right, because you want a police state in your household.
Polite but firm.
So, all right. So, but the thing is, you probably, I mean, you got spanked a lot. Did you get in a lot of trouble growing up?
I did.
Okay. So,
And going back to your point of trying to avoid getting in trouble, right? I specifically remember I went to a elementary school when I was little. I was in kindergarten or first grade, and throughout the day you had stars on this board. And if you did something bad, the teacher took down a star, right?
Right.
So after care, your parents come pick you up, and you walk through the hallways, and they always look in the window of that door to see how many stars you had that day, still on the board. If you didn't have any, for me, it was most likely none at the end of every day, right? But I got smart about it. I would always ask to go to the bathroom when I was in aftercare, and the bathroom was past that door, and they always left the doors unlocked for the janitors to come in and clean. So instead of going to the bathroom, I would sneak back in the classroom, put all my stars back up, and that's how I got through all of first grade.
So again, not teaching good lessons. I guess I don't know what that story was about.
It sounds like spanking led to just like criminal behavior for you.
Right. And I think the same thing about me. I learned very, very well not to get caught. My parents think I was a great kid, and I think I was a good kid. I mean, I don't think I was like evil or anything, but I also think like, man, they don't know half the shit I did. I don't know where I was going with all that. Yeah, I think it just taught me to not get caught. I don't think it taught me to. If somebody had sat me down, you're right. At a young age, like my child's 4, and I'm reading all this, and I knew this. This wasn't anything new to me. That spanking, has got data and suggestions behind it to not do it.
But you can't do anything anymore.
I've spanked my kid. I've done it. She did something dangerous, and I was like, I messing with like an outlet or something like that, and I didn't even think about it. Grabbed her up, smacked that ass, and I was like, don't you do that. I didn't cuss at her, but I was like, don't, and I had to explain to her, like, that'll hurt you. And I thought that was a good way to do it.
How did your wife handle it?
I think she was okay with it too, because she grew up. She, I'm sure she got spanked too. So it's
we all did, but you can't do anything anymore. I mean, if you spank a
you
kid,
can do it, man.
If you spank a kid, you get suspended 6 games in the NFL. I mean, the punishment is insane.
Yeah, I mean,
if you get caught, and there's so many people that turn their nose down that probably didn't get spanked and grew up in some hippie home, and it's all about love and peace and hugging trees.
Hold up. Wasn't that example of the dude getting suspended from the NFL kind of like over the top? Like, wasn't the kid like severely bruised and shit like that? Like, it wasn't just like he spanked his kid and got suspended for 6 games.
Okay, so maybe he Jack Nicholson the kid from The Shining.
Yeah.
I mean, yanked him up because he was all over his papers.
Right.
Which, again, that goes back to me, spanking is different than that. So you have actual physical punishment to your kids, grabbing their arm and yanking them, because you can't control that. That's inside of you, right? You grab them, and it's just a reaction. You grab them up, you just yank them too hard.
I would say the only thing you can control is that. Is how you handle yourself.
You can, but sometimes psychologically, you just want to shake them, or you just want to, I don't know. It's something like that.
Right.
So to me, spanking is a designated thing. Like, it's, you go grab the back of the toilet and bend over, and like there is a pause there. There is, everybody's thinking clearly. I did this. This is about to happen to me. He did this, or she did this. I'm about to have to do this.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, like I said, man, my daughter did something dangerous, and I grabbed her up, spanked her. I didn't think twice about it. Reading this, I hope, and we've got some years left, because I don't know what the spanking age is. I hope to never do it again.
I was spanked in school up until the 3rd grade.
Right. They outlawed that in like 2000 or something.
What?
It had to have been earlier than that.
Yeah, it was. I don't have it here. It was not that far off. I was like, ooh, really?
Well, in 1986, they were still spanking kids. In fact, there was rumors going around that school when I was in, I think, kindergarten, that one of the paddles was actually electric. And when you got spanked, it sends shocks through your ass.
Right.
Wow.
And that put the God fear in every kid in that school. And
Sure.
that's what I'm talking about, going back to fear.
Was this private school?
It was private school.
So if you'd got caught putting those stars back on there, you're looking at that electric paddle, but you still did it.
Yeah, because
It
all the
didn't teach you
teachers were
anything.
gone.
It
This
didn't
was
teach you-
aftercare.
It didn't teach you anything.
I
That's
think
what
I
I'm
made
saying.
eye contact with a janitor one time and saw me doing it, and he just looked the other way.
Yeah. All right. So my opinion is, I think I'm done with it. If I can really help,
You're
it,
done with spanking.
absolutely.
So you're one and done.
One and done. Yep.
Okay.
And I'm actually going to quit threatening to spank because I don't think that's right either.
We
Threatening
still
abuse-
threaten to spank, and the kid is almost 9 years old.
Right. I
don't think he's ever been spanked, but
It's
the
threat.
threat. The threat equals fear. The fear equals you don't do it. At least you don't do it in front of us.
That's interesting.
at least don't do it in front of us.
Yeah, figure out a way.
So, well, real quick. He's never been spanked, but there's the threat of spanking. How would that have any? Why would that mean anything to him?
Right.
Because
He's never been spanked before.
Yeah, but he's probably seen movies, TV shows, heard from his friends. I mean, there's that monster, that spanking monster is out there.
Okay,
And
so
it's like the Blob.
So, is this better or worse to like show your kid a movie of somebody getting spanked really hard and be like, "This is spanking"?
This could happen to you. Kind of like when you get a DUI and you have to go to like one of those classes and they show you like all those old VHS movies of like crashes and stuff like that, or the Mothers Against Drunk Driving come in and say, I lost 6 children in one car crash because of a drunk driver. So it's kind of like that. Like we just show kids videos of spanking.
Right, but people still do it. People still do it. And you said something really interesting. You said just don't do it in front of me.
Sure.
You're not worried about the behavior. You're worried about you. You're worried about
Because if you don't do it in front of me and you can figure out how to get past me, because I'm pretty street smart and clever. Not knowledge.
Debatable.
Knowledge did not stick here, right?
clearly.
The street smarts did.
Right.
So the street smart person in me says, if you can do it behind my back, then you can figure out how to do it behind people's back moving forward.
But
But
And then eventually-
what kind of behavior is that teaching though?
what are you teaching, man?
Yeah.
To be clever, to get out of situations. Now, let me preface this by, yes, I have been to jail 6 times. But they were all very minor things.
You've been to jail 6 times?
Yeah, you've been once with me defending something that I did not do.
I guess I've been 3 times. But that one time didn't count. That one time was a joke.
It was a joke,
Yeah, it
but
wasn't our fault.
it's not because I was hiding something. I didn't even do anything. It's because there was something with authority to me, right? If they say that I'm doing something that I didn't do, I'm going to push back on that.
Right.
Okay, so I think that ultimately came from childhood and spanking. I got spanked twice, didn't do the crime that I got spanked for.
Well,
I always took that
there's
with
that too. That's not right. You got spanked for something you didn't do. That's not right either, right? I'm defending child Bucky now.
It's not, but the more I talked back, the harder or more I got spanked.
Right, which is what this study says, is that kids who get spanked turn out more defiant. And actually, I'm not necessarily against defiance. I mean, I think in certain situations we need defiance. We need strong people to stand up and say something's wrong. I don't want to quell that, but what they're saying is that a kid that's routinely spanked is going to say, fuck you, fuck off. I'm not listening to you. Gonna act out more, gonna be more aggressive, and gonna be ultimately get into more trouble.
Because pain is only it only lasts a little while.
Pain is absolutely just a small part of it. What's associated with it is shame and guilt, not necessary guilt, fear, negative emotions, man, negative stuff.
Fear.
Put yourself. All right, so I'm trying to put myself in my daughter's situation where now I've got a spanker. How does she? What is her view of me right now? All right,
Authority.
so authority. I'm I'm hurting her. I'm gonna hurt her. I'm mad. I'm upset. She could.
You have the power.
That's not the relationship I want with my kid. I want very openness. I don't want her running around behind my back and hiding things from me and learning to get away with shit. I'd rather her just be upfront with me. Yet I know my kid's gonna get in trouble. She would not be my kid if she didn't do shit and crazy shit. She's going to. I have to live with that.
Sure.
But I want her to be able to call me and say, "Dad, I fucked up." I don't want her getting into more trouble and then worried about. I can't tell him I'm in trouble. I can't tell my dad because he's going to be mad at me. Fuck that.
It comes with time. When they're little, their brains have not developed enough to put all of that together, right? Action, reaction. To me, it goes back to, again, when you're little, there has to be some kind of disciplinary figure, right? If it can't be somebody at your school anymore because your parents don't agree with being punished at school,
right?
Because they want to do it themselves. And then they decide what they do. To go back to me, again, I don't know why it goes back to this whole fear thing. When I was little, I was raised by a single mother. We lived in a condo. I had to walk up the stairs to the right to my bedroom, and I had to pass my mom's bedroom on the way to my bedroom. What was hanging outside my mom's bedroom on the wall that I had to see every day was a paddle with 16 holes in it. And if you don't know this, most of you do, paddles with holes in it move faster and they smack harder.
Aerodynamics.
Yeah. So I had to look at that paddle every single day. And she pulled that paddle off the wall, I'd say probably 12 times. We lived there for 3 years. So that's a good track record. Most of the time she'd use her hand or just pull out a belt. So,
right.
But once that paddle came off the wall, I know it was serious stuff. Now this goes back to, and I'd like to transition, and you can go back to a couple of things, but what's on my mind is the quote that goes back as far as time goes back. This hurts me more than it hurts you.
Which is not true.
Okay.
Not true, man.
But that is that one moment where they can be completely, where the parent can be completely vulnerable in that situation, saying, this hurts me more than it hurts you. It's hurting my emotions, which is way bigger than pain right now. It's hurting my psychological thing that I'm having to do to my child.
But
so I'm starting to see that.
I feel like that's just adding to the guilt. That's adding to the guilt that you're putting on your kid because it's like I don't know.
Because
making me do this.
Yeah.
Or now you're not only did you get in trouble for what you did, but now you're hurting me.
Right.
Because I'm having to punish you.
I think there are alternatives to spanking. I think kids have a lot of shit these days. You can take a lot of stuff away. You can send them to timeout, isolation. I think there are other ways to get your message across without physical abuse. I think a lot of the parenting navigation and all this is I don't know what's right all the time. And
there's no one certain thing that's right.
Right.
And I mean, as many studies as there is, sometimes a kid probably just needs to be spanked a couple times to really get the point across. Like, every kid is different, like...
Right.
I mean, my kid is only 4 months old right now, so this hasn't even
So you're not spanking.
Yeah, this hasn't even become an issue for me yet. But I can totally see doing something like you did, old boy.
No.
When the
That's
kid,
like nails on a chalkboard to me. Every
You
time
don't have to
somebody
be-
says that
you don't have to
fucking name.
pronounce it like that, like old boy. Old boy.
I almost said your real name, so that
Gotcha,
threw me
gotcha.
off. Anyway, like you said, when your daughter went towards the electrical outlet, like it was just an immediate thing. Like you just had to get the point across.
Right.
I feel like that I will definitely go down that road, but I don't feel like I will be the type of person that's like, go get a switch or go bend over the toilet and I'll be in there in 30 seconds to,
A
spank you.
pre-scheduled spanking.
Yeah, like, or I
terrifying.
don't feel like I would. One thing that was big for me is like, my parents would always be like, wait till we get home. Wait till we get home, then you're going to get a spanking. So then it's like, you did something wrong, then 3 hours later you're getting a spanking for it. Like, it just doesn't really, that definitely doesn't resonate for me.
And now you're partially scared of home.
Yeah, hate it.
Wait till we get home. I don't want to go home.
Right, man. And for our listenership, they
Is that a thing?
There's a ton of studies and data to back up the non-spanking stuff. So do your own research. Don't even pretend to be an expert on this. And also, have y'all heard of the Bobo doll experiments?
No.
Where like they put this
Like the
it's like a blow up doll that you punch and it falls down and
does
stuff.
he look like one of the twins from Nothing But Trouble?
It kind of looks like Bozo the Clown. And
That's scary.
yeah, look up some research there, because like kids who were spanked and stuff like that, they're super aggressive to this thing. Kids who don't are like very nice to it and it's odd. There's a lot there.
It's
too.
not just a clown thing.
Yeah, that's what I was getting.
It's not just a clown thing. It's
The
a
fear of
thing.
clowns.
It's one of those dolls. It's got sand in the bottom, so when you push it, it like bounces back.
Yeah, no, I know what you're talking about.
I
I
love
had one of
those
those as a
things.
kid. We
Yeah.
beat the shit out of
Yeah,
it.
exactly. Yeah, spank the hell out of that thing.
No, you punch it. You don't spank it.
There
Yeah.
you go. Not violent.
Yeah.
That's
That's part of being a kid.
yeah, I kind of agree with that too. I mean, I don't feel like I'm a violent person, but when I was a kid, we definitely had boxing matches like
Oh,
between
yeah.
me and my brothers. So
Oh, yeah.
I mean, like,
But I don't think that has anything to do with spanking. That's just
yeah,
male dominance.
Yeah.
I can beat the shit out of you.
Well, I don't. Yeah, it might not even be male dominance, man. I think it's probably part of our culture too. I mean, we see it, we mimic it. That's what we do.
Yeah, I guess
We're apes.
that's it. Mike Tyson was really popular when I was a kid. so, I
Absolutely,
mean,
man. When he lost to Buster Douglas, I was heartbroken. Anyway, sorry.
Okay, so the ultimate question is, and I'll present to both of you, spanking, yes or no?
Oldboy says no.
I'll say probably in some situations. Like, it will be sparing because I'm not a big fan of it, but, you know, like you guys both said, sometimes a kid just, they're acting out too much or something. I don't know. I feel like I'm painting myself into a corner here, but
Well, it's tough, and
I can't say no because I can definitely see myself spanking my kid at some point when they do something.
So I'm going to say yes, but not scheduled, like we were talking about.
yeah.
There will be certain situations, and I think also in certain situations, an adult or a parent figure feels like there's nothing left. Like
Sure.
that's it. They've tried to reason. They've tried to do this. It consistently keeps happening. So you resort to violence.
it's in a lot of this, the single mom, single parent discussion comes up a lot because single parents feel like they don't have any other option, so they resort to it, and they resort to it often.
And they don't have anybody else there to bounce ideas off
you're
of
right.
or to play a good cop, bad cop role. I know that firsthand.
Right.
You know, your single parent has to play all the parents.
It comes up a lot, but it also says that parent, it's a tension release for the parent, and that it still doesn't teach the kid the right lessons. That's what I've read. I'm not agreeing with it. I know it's got to be tough, man. I have the utmost respect for single parents. I don't know how they do it.
So we got 2 yeses and 1 no. Young man decided to go the psychological route in trying to talk it out. I don't know if we got anywhere today on this, but I think we had a decent conversation and we know where each other stands.
Right.
You guys want to end it with one spanking story from when you were a kid? If you've got one that's kind of funny or not too dark or anything.
Sure. Yeah.
All of mine are dark.
I can go first, or I can go last.
I've got a decent one.
All right,
I don't
shoot.
know, in my opinion. It didn't even happen to me. It was when my mom was spanking my brother, because my younger brother was a bit of a hellion. He was the type of kid that I think, my mom got to the point that Bucky, you were talking about, where it's like, yeah, nothing else is going to work because this kid is just
Sure.
wild. And I can remember she had this giant spoon that she would spank him with for the longest time. And
Damn, Matt, we haven't brought up spoons yet. Like
she
a
was
wooden spoon?
A wooden spoon.
Oh,
And
wow.
it was like, a foot long. It wasn't giant, but it had a little bit of heft to it, I guess. And she would always spank him with that. And I remember she was spanking him one day and it broke, and he just turned back and looked at her and ran away. And that made her just so much madder. And I just remember seeing this, I was probably 7 years old at the time, and just looking and seeing it happen and being like, oh man, he's fucked. Sure enough, my mom went to the closet, found a belt, and that was what she used from then on. So, not hilariously funny, but God, when that spoon broke and he just turned around and laughed at her, it was just
That's great.
it was like slow motion.
I've got two good ones, but I'll tell this one real quick. So my parents had this little clay dish that they had kept in their room, like on my dad or mom's nightstand, and it came up missing, and we were interrogated. I had no idea where this fucking thing was, right? I barely remember what it looked like, and I was like, I don't know. So we're sitting there against a wall, like, you know, like we're being interrogated, man. They're like, where'd the clay thing go? And I'm like, I don't know. And Nick's like, I don't know. My brother, he's like, I don't know. And they're like, both of you go to your rooms, this and that. And then, so we didn't know, you know. And then they brought it up again. They're like, if you don't tell us where this is, we're going to spank both of you. And then we had to go back to our rooms. And it was like this whole thing, man, about this clay thing. And finally, Nick, my brother, he's like, oh, man, I'm scared, man. He's like, I broke it and I hit it. And I'm like, oh, fuck, man. I'm like, oh, shit, man. I'm like, you've got us in some deep shit. They're about to spank us both. So they pull us back out, and I go, all right. It's like, he told me where it was. He had hid it behind their laundry basket. So I said, I did it. I said, I did it. And I got spanked. I said, I did it. I took up for him. I said, I did it. It's behind the laundry basket. I got spanked for it. And I got sent back to my room, and my brother, I'm laying there because nobody likes to be spanked. You know, I'm crying. It wasn't fucking fun. And then I'm laying there, and my brother was like, because he couldn't roll his R's very well when he was a kid. He goes, I love you, brother. And and for my whole life, I will never forget that.
Didn't you cut him with a sword later in life?
It was an accident, and I was probably high.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know. I guess I got a bunch of stories. Then they all kind of run together. But the one that stands out to me the most, which I kind of touched on in the first of the podcast, and I saw both of your eyes light up, is the fact that when I was about 9 years old, I hit a girl in the chest with a baseball bat. Now, I didn't mean to. We were playing a game of baseball. There's about 8 kids out there, and she was playing catcher. And I swung back with my backswing. I wasn't that coordinated at the time, so I took a big backswing and nailed this girl right in the chest, right? She can't talk. She's on the ground. She's having a hard time breathing. Everybody's around her. I just take off, right? I take off. I go home.
No guilt.
Yeah, we're in a condo complex at the time, and I slide open the back door. And I remember I shut the door. It's probably 4:00 in the afternoon, right? And I shut the door and I close the blinds. I run upstairs. I start drawing a bath because I know that I'm in trouble. So I draw a bath. My mom is in the living room. She's like, what is going on? So she comes upstairs and she's like, what are you doing? I said, it's time to go to bed. I'm like, I'm going to start, I'm going to take my bath and I'm going to go to bed. And the whole time you can see catty cornered out the bathroom with the door open, that paddle hanging on the wall. And I knew that was eventually coming if I would have got caught, right? So I'm in the bath, and it's probably 15 minutes has gone by, and we get a knock on the door. And we open the door, and it's my mom opens the door. I'm upstairs in the bath. I can't see the door. Apparently, it's the dad of the little girl, and a fully uniformed police officer asking for me. And there's an explanation of what is happening down, and I can hear it. And the more and more I'm sitting in this bath, I'm just getting fearful. Like, this is going to happen. Obviously, they can't take a 9-year-old to jail, but I didn't know that at the time.
Right.
So the door shuts, and then I don't hear anything. It's silence, right? And I don't hear anything for about 45 seconds. And then I look up, and I swear to God, my mom is like 1 foot away from me. And I'm sitting in the bath. She ghosted straight up the stairs. And she's looking at me, and she goes, so it's 4:00, huh? And I was like, yeah. And she goes, and you're in the bath? And I was like, yeah. And she goes, so what happened? And so I just start breaking down in tears, and I tell her, and
because you're scared.
Because I'm scared. And
is the paddle off the wall at this point?
The paddle is not off the wall. Just wait. There's a Jedi trick that's about to happen. So she's like, what happened? And I said, I accidentally hit I don't need whatever her name was at the time, in the chest with a baseball bat playing baseball. And she said, accidentally. So you would have run in here. You would have closed the sliding glass door. You would have locked it. You would have closed the blinds. You would have gone upstairs, drawn yourself a bath, gotten in the bath, told me that it's time for bed, and it is obviously daylight outside, and all of this was an accident. And I was like, yes, I didn't know what to do.
Right.
She did not believe me.
Right.
So that was the first time that I ever got spanked in a bath. And when I go back to the Jedi trick, I swear to God, in a 9-year-old's mind, she just looks back and that paddle comes straight to her hand. And I stand up and it is just a whoosh, whoosh, right? The only and a short one. The other time, the one time I did defy my mom with one of those things is she said, "Go in the bathroom. It's time to get spanked." I did something, and I literally took one of my wrestling buddies. I had like 3 of them, it was like Macho Man, $1 Million Man, and Hulk Hogan. Those little stuffed wrestling buddies.
Right.
And I took it into the bathroom and I propped it up on the toilet as if it was about to get spanked. And I went back in and I hid in my closet. Don't ever do that, ever, because you're gonna get it 3 times as hard. I thought it was funny.
So what you're saying is it did not teach you to be clever.
I don't know. I think I got a little bit of something out of that, maybe.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
I would love to break down the thought process behind putting the wrestling. Maybe she just wants to spank anything, not just me.
I didn't
This
know.
thing's about my height. I'm gonna put it over here. It's got a mustache, but it's okay.
It's soft. He can take it. I can't take it.
Oh my god.
So every week we're going to cover a different subject, and today we've kind of unearthed a little bit of our ideas on corporal punishment. Is that what it is?
Yep, I think so.
And so we hope you enjoyed, kind of a little banter. Again, every week we're going to have a different subject. It could be about the city of Nashville, anything from how are the Predators doing right now? Amazon's coming to town. Our mayor got caught fucking a security guard in a cemetery.
That's been a while, though, right?
It has been a while, but I have a feeling it will resurface. Anyway, again, one week we'll cover Nashville topics, and then sometimes we'll just kind of throw it back. We might, review a movie. We might, talk about something that's going on in the news. But again, this is Raising Nashville. I'm Bucky.
I'm Oldboy.
Nope.
And I'm Juicebox.
Yay!
We'll see you guys next week.
This is a good one, guys. I like this one.
We'll see you guys next week.
All right, bye.
And make sure you tell them shut up.
I whip your kids back in shape. 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 I whip your kids back in shape.